The commander watched the human transmission replay for the 12th time. A single vessel, no escort, no insignia. Just a dull gray shape emerging from the void like something dredged from a forgotten age. He laughed. The bridge followed, an obedient chorus. "One ship?" he said, leaning forward. "A relic, probably powered by chemical fire and hope." Laughter rippled across the decks, recorded and streamed through the council net. The clip would circulate for hours. On the main display, the Resolute Dawn drifted before the Concord fleet, 10,000 vessels in diamond formation. Their hulls shimmered with spectral light, lattice armor humming at a perfect 120 Hz resonance. Precision incarnate. Against it, the human ship looked soft-edged, scarred. Its plating showed weld seams like a museum exhibit left unpolished. "Primitive aesthetics," murmured the tactics officer. "Signal integrity, outdated. Thermal baffles suggest kinetic designs. No energy displacement grid detected." The commander nodded. "They've forgotten the age they crawled from." He ordered the ceremonial ping, an open channel warning. It arrived as a clear human voice, calm, measured, unsentimental. "Concord Fleet, this is the Terran vessel Resolute Dawn. We acknowledge your exercise. We request non-interference," the commander smirked. "Non-interference," he repeated, letting the word roll through the air. "From us?" They misunderstand hierarchy. On-screen telemetry painted the human hull in pale blue wireframes. Mass 2.1 megatons. Armor, alloy iron composite. Heat profile steady at 273 K. A corpse pretending to move. He lifted a glass of amber nutrient and toasted the image. "Let the record show," he said. "Humanity arrives bearing rust." A junior analyst hesitated before joining the laughter. The commander noticed but ignored it. Doubt was a virus. Arrogance was the cure. Through the viewport, the human ship remained motionless, its orientation unchanging, its drive emissions silent. "Too still." The commander frowned but dismissed it. "They don't even adjust to target lock." "Confidence or incompetence?" "Likely both," said his adjutant. The bridge chuckled again. A timer marked the distance. 22,000 kilometers closing at 14 ms. Harmless. The Concord formation adjusted slightly, maintaining the visual tableau that would symbolize unity. Every lens across the sector was watching. Humanity's humiliation would be art. He rehearsed the press statement in his mind. The Concord welcomes even the smallest participants. History must be generous to the obsolete. On his console, an officer whispered updates. Thermal drift within normal range. Radiation minimal. No shield modulation. Perfectly boring. He relaxed. A ping registered, barely audible static through the comm grid. Then silence again. The humans weren't speaking anymore. He turned to his aide. "Patch me visual magnification." The image expanded. What he thought were hull seams looked now like embedded panels. Layered, angular, and deliberate. His glass paused mid-air. Magnify again. Microtext along the armor flickered into focus. Property of the Terran Defense Initiative. MKF Ablative Mesh, refurbished, year 2461, refurbished. The word struck him oddly. Not built, rebuilt. A brief stillness passed through the bridge. Then he scoffed, covering the unease. "They refurbish because they can't innovate." A single pulse echoed from the human ship. Infrared spectrum, low amplitude. The comtech tilted her head. "Not a transmission." A scan reflection. He waved her off. "Probably testing their antique sensors." The bridge lights dimmed slightly as external energy fields balanced. The Concord fleet glowed, confident, radiant in its perfection. The commander set his glass down. "When we open the demonstration, ensure the human feed remains public. Let the galaxy witness humility restored." "Understood, sir." "Strike window in T-minus 6 minutes." He watched the chronometer begin its countdown. Beyond the viewport, the Resolute Dawn turned fractionally, an adjustment so small it required 3 decimal places to detect. The commander didn't notice. He smiled for the broadcast drones. "Prepare to educate the primitives." Static brushed the speakers again, then a voice low and steady. "Education acknowledged." The commander blinked. "Repeat that?" The comm officer paled. "It came from them, sir." He hesitated for the first time. The glass trembling slightly in his hand. Outside, the human vessel aligned perfectly with the Concord flagship's bow vector. 2 words lingered on the open channel. Flat, measured, inevitable. Observation begins. The laughter stopped. They thought one ship meant weakness. They were about to learn what one principle could do. The void peeled open in silence. Slipspace folded outward, and the resolute dawn emerged. No fanfare, no flare of energy, only a soft hum rolling through the hull. Commander Hale stood at the forward viewport. His reflection stared back, steady eyes in the pale light of distant suns. Behind him, 38 crew members worked with mechanical rhythm, every motion timed to protocol. No chatter, no hesitation. Telemetry painted the sky. 10,000 Concorde ships arrayed around Varel Gate, a ring of light spanning 900 kilometers. Their hulls shimmered with ion gold, forming what the broadcasts called civilization's shield. To them, the human ship was an insect drifting into a cathedral. The comms erupted with open-channel jeers. Translators converted alien laughter into crisp Terran vowels. Relic vessel detected. Energy output negligible. Request permission to record disintegration for historical archives. The bridge didn't react. Hale raised one hand. Mute external audio. Silence reclaimed the deck. Only the pulse of the reactor and the faint oscillation of life support fans remained. Status? He asked. Stable exit vector, replied Lieutenant Mara Vance. Hull temperature nominal. Shield lattice synchronized at 97%. Excellent. Maintain passive stance. The dawn drifted closer to the gate, a ring of ancient alloys and newer arrogance. Each arc pulsed in alternating blue and gold, measuring and mocking. A Concorde cruiser angled forward, its captain's hologram blooming on the shared band. Human vessel, it declared, voice dripping ceremony. You have entered restricted space. Identify purpose, Hale replied evenly. Observation and transit rights under Article 12. The alien laughed, mandibles flaring. Article 12 applies to recognized powers. Hale didn't blink. Then recognize, a pause. Then more laughter across the channels, thousands of signals overlapping. To the galaxy it sounded like thunder. Commander, Vance murmured. They're broadcasting the exchange. I know. He turned toward the crew pit. Navigation, set holding pattern, radius 5,000 kilometers. Engineering, cycle rail capacitors to stand by. The order passed quietly, like breath through steel. Every hand moved with disciplined certainty. No adrenaline, no fear. Only purpose. Outside, the Concorde ships began subtle maneuvers, orbital adjustments, formation tightening. They wanted to provoke a reaction. None came. Retention microspike. Discipline is louder than defiance. The Dawn's hull glimmered faintly as solar light touched its armor. Every plate bore the scars of previous campaigns, visible memory engraved in alloy. Reporters across the Concorde channels called it pitiful, outdated, poetic, and failure. Inside, the crew ignored the noise. Each wore a black patch stitched with silver lettering. Doctrine of response. No slogans. No bravado. Just doctrine. At 14:03 station time, the Concorde flagship broadcast final notice. Human vessel Resolute Dawn, you are ordered to stand down. Disarm reactors and await escort for disassembly inspection. Vance looked to Hale. Confirmation request, sir? He shook his head once. Transmit standard refusal. Her voice carried over comms, calm as drift ice. Negative. We maintain control of all systems. Non-hostile but non-compliant. Static answered, followed by coordinated laughter from 1,000 voices. Primitive defiance logged. A Concorde AI translated. Hale exhaled slowly. Mark time. Record everything. Let them write their own indictment. Through the viewport, the virile gate loomed, an impossible ring of civilization's vanity. Hale watched its inner bands rotate faster, power readings climbing. The alien fleet aligned like a curtain closing. The Dawn held its position. 5,000 kilometers. No drift. Commander, said Vance. Incoming scan. Multispectrum. Let them look, he replied. The sensors lit briefly, flooding the bridge in blue. When the glare faded, nothing had changed. The humans remained motionless, their ship steady against the light. Status? Hale asked. All systems green. No data compromise. Good. Then we wait. He clasped his hands behind his back, posture straight, voice quiet. Remember this moment, he said. The galaxy thinks stillness means surrender. Outside, the Resolute Dawn faced 10,000 ships and did not move. Refusal recorded. Doctrine upheld. The first shot came without ceremony. A line of pure white light crossed the void and struck the Resolute Dawn amidships. It did not explode. It did not burn. It simply hit, then vanished into the armor like rain disappearing into Earth. No alarms. No panic, only numbers. Impact registered, Lieutenant Vance said evenly. Thermal spike within expected range. Outer mesh temperature, 340 Kelvin. Damage? Negligible. 89% absorbed through ablative matrix. 11% deflected into radiation dispersal grid. Commander Hale nodded once. Maintain course. Across the fleet, disbelief rippled through the Concorde channels. The energy lances were supposed to vaporize hulls, not warm them. The humans didn't return fire. They didn't even flinch. The second barrage came harder, 12 synchronized beams converging on the Dawn, each strike registered in the tens of gigajoules. The hull glowed red for 6 seconds, then cooled as the outer layer sublimated in neat pre-cut segments. Replacement panels slid into position automatically. Retention spike, 89% absorbed, 11% deflected. Zero fear. Inside the bridge, Hale's voice stayed level. Log material efficiency. Send telemetry to Fleet Command. Vance complied. Data recorded. External readings show Concorde frequencies escalating. They're angry. The Concorde commander appeared on the open band again, his voice sharp, the earlier laughter gone. Human vessel, you have violated ceasefire protocols. Explain your shielding technology immediately. Hale looked at the image of the alien, arched brow, trembling mandibles, and simply said, Physics. The alien snarled. You mock? Negative, Hale interrupted. We adapt. Outside, another wave of energy struck. The Dawn's thermal regulators converted heat into power. Reactor efficiency spiked by 4.6%. Systems readouts glowed steady green. Commander, said Vance, hull energy return exceeding design spec. We're feeding off their fire. Confirm and stabilize at threshold. The ship pulsed faintly, skin shimmering with infrared afterglow. Crew members at engineering watched power levels climb like a rising tide. Total kinetic reserves? Hale asked. 67% rail charge. Full saturation in 3 minutes. He nodded. Then we let them talk for 2. Broadcast feeds across the Concorde network went silent, commentators scrambling for explanations. Some called it trickery. Others claimed pre-shield countermeasures. None admitted what it was. Preparation. The fourth strike came from the flagship itself, a lance 40 meters wide that split the shadowed void. Impact duration 3.7 seconds. Hull stress 1.2%. Crew heart rates unchanged. A junior officer whispered, Permission to return fire? Denied, Hale said. Protocol Phase 1. Endurance. He watched as the reflected energy spread like dawn across the armor. The glowing edges cooled, revealing the words etched beneath. Doctrine of response. A long pause filled the bridge. The external sensors displayed power levels stabilizing, temperature returning to nominal. Commander, Vance said quietly, they're recalibrating for kinetic yield. Let them. They'll learn twice. On the Concorde flagship, panic began to infect precision. Orders overlapped, formations drifted by kilometers. The fleet that once gleamed perfect now looked. Human retention spike. Discipline never shouts. It waits. One final burst struck the dawn, brighter than the rest. The armor flared white-hot and held. Residual light bathed the human bridge in ghost fire. Hale exhaled. Cycle heat dispersion. Prepare for vector change. Aye. Across the fleet, sensors recalculated. The primitive ship had survived 7 full power exchanges at 90,000 terajoules. The algorithms failed to explain it. Vance turned from her console. Sir, they're asking for your terms. Hale didn't smile. Tell them we have none. He stepped closer to the viewport. The viral gate hung beyond, pulsing with artificial calm. Around it, 10,000 ships glowed like a frightened halo. The Resolute Dawn moved forward, a single relic cutting through light. Its hull reflected the fire it had swallowed, gleaming like a star born from defiance. Phase 1 complete, Hale said softly. Now they know what silence costs. The hum began deep in the ship's spine. 12 magnetic rails came alive, blue-white arcs crawling along their length like lightning in slow motion. Power redistribution hit 97%. The Resolute Dawn was no longer absorbing, she was answering. Confirm magnetic synchronization, Commander Hale ordered. Locked, Vance replied. Barrel temperature at baseline. Slugs primed, Mach 20 velocity. Range, 4,000 kilometers. Flagship dead center. Fire control to my mark. Across the black, the Concorde fleet adjusted in nervous silence. No one had ever seen a human ship survive that long, much less prepare to strike. To them, kinetics were crude, Stone Age brutality. Energy ruled their wars. The Dawn disagreed. Hale's hand hovered over the trigger key. Mark. 12 tungsten slugs left the rails in perfect synchrony. No glow, no flare, just silence. They crossed 4,000 kilometers in under a second. Sensors on the Concorde flagship registered impact, too late to raise shields. The first 3 slugs hit amidships, instant kinetic vaporization. The next 6 punched through decks, scattering molten alloy across space. The final 3 cut straight through the reactor core. Impact telemetry. Velocity Mach 20.4, kinetic yield 22 gigatons, contact duration 0.13 seconds. The Concorde flagship disintegrated. Not exploded, disintegrated. One moment it existed. The next it was fragments tumbling in slow arcs. Retention spike. Precision is mercy at high speed. The fleet broke formation. Ships swerved into one another. Automated navigation collapsing under panic. Hale watched in silence as the wall of gold and blue light devolved into chaos. Confirmed kills? Primary target neutralized. Secondary debris strikes. 7 hull breaches across adjacent vessels. Friendly status? Unaffected. Shield harmonics stable. He nodded once. Reload. The magnetic rails cycled with hydraulic grace. Fresh slugs sliding into position. Ready in 30 seconds, Vance said. On the open channel, frantic alien voices overlapped. Command codes, surrender requests, accusations of war crimes. The galaxy's perfect fleet was now a wounded machine. Each captain screaming for orders that no longer existed. Commander, said Vance quietly. They're transmitting civilian distress beacons from the flagship debris field. Log them, Hale replied. We'll recover survivors when the firing ends. Another voice cut in from communications. Sir, conquered subfleets are retreating behind the gate, estimated 40% disengaging. Mark withdrawal vectors. Do not pursue. The tactical map bloomed red with retreat arcs. Hale studied them as a surgeon studies anatomy, without hate, only precision. Retention microspike. 12 shots. 12 lessons. He paced once, slow and deliberate. Engineering, maintain reactor flow at 80. Don't overfeed the rails. We need endurance, not spectacle. Aye, sir. Outside, the Resolute Dawn rotated 10 degrees, bringing secondary batteries online. Each turret aligned with machine serenity, tracking targets across a 40,000-kilometer radius. The ship's old hull glowed faintly from recycled heat, more alive than it had been in centuries. Vance's voice softened. Commander, enemy transmissions have shifted tone. They're requesting negotiation. Of course they are, he said. He watched one Concorde cruiser drift too close to its neighbor, collision alarms flaring. Discipline had broken. Fear ruled now. Send message, Hale said. Transmission 1 line. She nodded. Content? He dictated slowly. Cease aggression. You opened fire first. Response complete. The message left the ship like a whisper. Across the fleet, thousands of translators rendered it into alien tongues. 1 billion viewers watched as silence followed. Minutes passed. No one fired again. Status of rails? Hale asked. Charged. 12 rounds remaining. Standby only. We've made our point. He turned toward the viewport, gaze fixed on the spreading debris. It glittered like frozen dust, remnants of arrogance suspended in starlight. For the first time since arrival, the galaxy hesitated, and in that hesitation, humanity defined the field. The Resolute Dawn held position, unmoving, unshaken, utterly calm. Lesson recorded, Hale said. Prepare for Phase 3. The countdown began at 0. 6 minutes. That was all Commander Hale allowed. Efficiency wasn't cruelty. It was doctrine. Target spread confirmed, Vance said. 9 hulls in cluster formation. Average distance, 12,000 kilometers. Cycle rails 1 through 6, Hale ordered. Precision fire only. Record everything. Across the void, the Concorde's fractured armada tried to reform a wall, their commanders shouting over collapsing comms. Panic layered upon pride, a soundless symphony across the stars. The Resolute Dawn moved like a machine remembering its purpose. Every railgun barrel aligned with surgical precision, micro-gyros adjusting by fractions of degrees. Reactor flow stabilized at 78%. Hale's voice cut through the bridge. Commence operation timer. 360 seconds. A chime rang once. Then thunder. The first pair of slugs hit within the opening 10 seconds, Mach 20.2 each. The lead destroyer's hull folded inward, reactor bloom flashing white, erased before its own distress beacon could launch. 2 down. Telemetry flashed on every screen. Elapsed time, 0010. Kills, 2. Efficiency, 0.2 targets, or sec. Maintain cadence, Hale said. Fire in threes! 3 more slugs launched in synchronized arcs. At 047, impacts registered across a defensive cruiser line. Sensors marked debris clouds spreading at 3.2 km/s. Elapsed time, 047. Kills, 4 retention spike. Mathematics of fear are written in seconds. Vance's calm voice carried over the hum. Enemy fleet attempting evasive spread. Patterns erratic. They've lost formation integrity. Predictable, Hale said. Recalculate lead angles. Continue. At Aero 215, the Dawn rotated 90 degrees starboard, ventral rails engaging. 3 tungsten slugs streaked out, silent and absolute. Impact telemetry showed hull ruptures cascading through twin escorts and a carrier spine. Elapsed time, 0232. Kills, 7. Remaining, 2. A single. Concord battleship tried to cover the retreat, deploying a halo of energy barriers around its sister ship. The barriers shimmered in gold, elegant, defiant, fragile. Commander, Vance said, their flagship AI is calling for ceasefire. Log the request. Continue firing. 2 slugs launched. 1 missed intentionally by a kilometer, Hale's unspoken message. The other struck clean through both ships, turning them to expanding halos of light. Silence reclaimed the bridge. The tactical overlay froze at CS6. Growlers exactly. Elapsed time, 06 Grau. Kills, 9. Total yield, 198 gigatons. Mission complete. Retention spike, 9 ships. 6 minutes. 1 principal. The crew didn't cheer. They recorded. Data scrolled across every screen. Impact velocities, debris trajectories, heat dissipation curves. War is measurement, not emotion, Vance exhaled softly. Zone clear. Enemy sensors offline. Transmit full combat log to command. Encrypt on T9. Aye, sir. He stepped forward, eyes fixed on the vast field of glowing fragments. The enemy fleet, once the symbol of galactic unity, was now a drifting graveyard of geometry and pride. Engineering, Hale said. Cool barrels to safe. Rotate power to life support and comms. Begin damage scans. Rails at 43% thermal. No structural stress. Excellent, the open channel crackled with alien static. Distorted voices begged for retreat clearance, others cursed human barbarity. Hale ignored them. Commander, Vance said, Council media feeds are calling it a massacre. No, he said quietly. A demonstration. The bridge lights dimmed as external glare faded. The dawn drifted through the wreckage, slow and deliberate, reactor signature pulsing steady. Drones deployed, scanning debris, collecting encrypted data cores from shattered cruisers. Sir, enemy life signs. 37 pods detected. Mark coordinates. Dispatch 2 shuttles for recovery. Vance hesitated. Enemy? Life is life, he said. She nodded. The order transmitted. 2 small crafts detached, gliding through the ruins of arrogance to collect survivors. Retention microspike. Mercy defines victory. As the last escape pod docked, Hale turned back to the viewport. The stars reflected off the armor of the Resolute Dawn, their light refracted across carbon-scorched plating. Timer stopped? He asked. Yes, sir. 6 minutes exactly. He nodded once. Then history has its number. The engines pulsed, and the ship resumed her station before the gate, silent, resolute, and still warm from fire. The guns went quiet. No command tone, no countdown, just a single word from Hale. Ceasefire. Power drained from the rails. The Resolute Dawn drifted through the graveyard it had made, 9 shattered ships, each still glowing at the edges like dying stars. The void itself seemed to listen. Confirmed disengagement, Hale said. Confirmed, replied Vance. All batteries cold. Reactor output stabilized at 60%. Good. Then let them hear the silence they've earned. Across the Concord net, confusion pulsed like static. Thousands of ships held position, their sensors wide open, waiting for another strike that didn't come. The galaxy had never seen humans stop while winning. Hale stood at the center of the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. His voice was calm, almost detached. Open channel to all conquered vessels. Channel open, Vance said. He spoke into the void. To all Concord commands. This is Commander Elias Hale of the Terran vessel Resolute Dawn. Your flagship fleet initiated unlawful fire upon a non-combatant observer. You will now stand down, power down weapons, and prepare for tribunal review under Article 12 of the Galactic Charter. The transmission echoed for 20 full seconds before any response came. Finally, a voice, shaking, proud, desperate. You destroyed 9 ships in 6 minutes. You speak of law? Hale didn't blink. Law is why you're still alive. Retention spike. Mercy after dominance is the only justice that endures. The alien voice trembled into silence. Another captain broke in quieter. You offer surrender? Yes, Hale said. You'll live to testify. On the bridge, the crew kept working in silence. No one celebrated. Every word, every order felt measured. The doctrine of response wasn't vengeance. It was restraint. Commander, Vance said. Conquered subfleets registering signal changes. 27% lowering shields. Others holding position. Record compliance. Tag non-responders for monitoring. The tactical display dimmed as red icons slowly turned amber. The void was filling with hesitation, not courage. In the background, recovery drones moved through debris fields, collecting pods and encrypted logs. Hale watched their slow motion against the starlight. Small acts of order in a universe addicted to chaos. Commander, said the communications officer. Council media channels request a live statement. Hale shook his head. Not a speech. A record. He turned toward the main camera. Entry designation, post-conflict arbitration, Virel Gate. Record begins. He paused a beat, his face unreadable. Let the record state that humanity entered this engagement under observation, absorbed 7 hostile volleys, returned fire for 6 minutes, and ceased upon objective completion. Total casualties, 9 enemy warships. No further aggression executed. Survivors rescued where found. He lowered his gaze slightly, the tone unchanged. We did not seek conquest. We demanded recognition. And we will not accept the erasure of law in the name of power. Retention microspike. Silence is not surrender. It is verdict. The bridge stayed still for a long moment. Then Vance spoke softly. Transmission logged and sealed. Send it to the Council archive, Hale said. No commentary, no editing. Understood. Outside, the wreckage drifted past the viewport, thousands of fragments sparkling like a frozen storm. Hale watched them fade into the distance. Status of enemy engines. Minimal movement. Their fleets are disengaging. Good. Begin search and rescue sweeps within 20,000 kilometers. Life signatures first, hull scrap second. The crew moved instantly. Small drones launched, engines whispering, their navigation lights blinking through the void like fireflies among ashes. Commander, Vance asked quietly, what happens after the tribunal? He took a breath. They'll argue. They'll rewrite definitions. But the record won't lie. He turned from the viewport. Power down secondary weapons. Hold defensive posture only. Justice doesn't need a reload. The engines dimmed. The Resolute Dawn drifted, surrounded by silence more powerful than any beam or slug. For the first time since the war began, the void itself felt like law. The realization came too late. Across the conquered fleet, sensor officers recalibrated in panic, searching for ghosts that had never appeared before. But the ghosts were there, waiting, silent, disciplined. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Commander Hale watched the star field twist through the tactical overlay. The surviving Concord ships were pulling back, shields flickering, signals fractured. A perfect moment for chaos, but humanity did not strike. Not yet. Telemetry sweep complete, Vance reported. Enemy fleet density reduced by 40%. Their long-range scanners remained blinded from thermal interference. Hale nodded slowly. Maintain Black Mask protocol. The Dawn systems pulsed once, transmitting a coded burst invisible to the Concord's detection lattice. The signal arced outward, bouncing off debris, relays, and the dark side of a nearby moon. Beyond that shadow, 67 ships woke. They had waited in total silence for 9 hours. Heat signatures buried within lunar rock drives cooled to near zero. Old destroyers, carriers, and long-haul cruisers, each one painted matte black, each hull scarred and functional. From the lunar surface, they rose like iron constellations being born. Doctrine of response, Phase 2 confirmed. Vance said. Hale's reply was quiet. Acknowledged. Keep them dark. No emissions until Signal 2. On the Concord channels, confusion bled into fear. Static reports mentioned ghost echoes, mirage fleets, sensor ghosts on the far horizon. Commanders yelled for verification. Analysts denied it was possible. Retention spike. Preparation is the highest form of mercy. Commander, Vance continued. CouncilNet now broadcasting emergency debate. They claim humanity violated observer limits. Observation, Hale said, was the limit they chose to test. He turned toward the tactical map. It now shimmered with faint blue sigils, each one a Terran hull rising from shadow. 67 in total, arranged with mathematical precision. No randomness, no waste. The doctrine of response had always been simple. Never strike first, never strike loud, but always strike prepared. On the bridge of the conquered flagship Verith, chaos reigned. Admiral Thalos' voice hoarse shouted over his aides. They hid an entire fleet under our jurisdiction. How could their primitive drives mask signatures this completely? A junior officer whispered, they didn't mask. They matched ambient reflection. We were never looking at the dark side. The realization spread like frost through the command chain. Their arrogance hadn't blinded them. The humans simply used it as cover. On the dawn, Hale received the intercepted feed. He watched the panic with the stillness of a judge. Let them see it, he said. Let the galaxy understand why mockery is dangerous. The conquered fleet began retreat procedures, broadcasting surrender requests laced with half-threats and excuses. Hale ignored them. Transmit to all Terran vessels, he ordered. Vance nodded. Message content? Phase 2 readiness only. No fire authorization. We remain defensive. The code pulse repeated, a short infrared flash across the void. In response, 67 ships adjusted formation, aligning behind the dawn in a slow, breathtaking arc. Each ship locked its magnetic silhouette to the next, forming an immense crescent against the stars. Every conquered sensor that could still function saw the same impossible image, one ship multiplied into a fleet. Retention spike. They laughed at one. They now count 68. Commander, said Vance, her voice lower now. The council feed is broadcasting you live across the network. I know. He straightened, eyes on the camera drone. To all conquered worlds, he said calmly, humanity acted under recorded provocation. 67 ships were placed to ensure balance, not conquest. You called it arrogance. We called it preparation. His words carried without emotion, but their gravity folded the silence around him. Outside, the formation glowed faintly as lunar dust drifted from thruster wakes. The crescent of steel cast a long reflection across the moon's shadow, proof that humanity had not just survived, but anticipated. Commander, Vance whispered. Orders for Phase 3. He shook his head. We hold. Doctrine ends when wisdom begins. The Terran fleet stayed motionless, their lights cold, their message unmistakable. We never needed to outnumber you, only to outthink you. In the distance, the Concord fleet turned and fled toward the Virile Gate, leaving silence in their wake. The storm began without rage, only precision. Beyond the moon's shadow, the 67 Terran ships accelerated in perfect formation. Their drives ignited as one, thin blue trails tracing geometry across the black. From above, it looked less like war and more like choreography. Signal received from secondary fleets, Vance said. All groups report synchronization within 0.02 seconds. Except, Hale replied. Initiate dual protocol, evacuation and containment. On the tactical map, 2 operations unfolded in tandem. Red markers for bombardment targets, unmanned Concord batteries, destabilized reactors, drifting cruisers about to implode. Blue markers for evacuation zones, civilian freighters, crippled hospital ships, orbital habitats spinning helplessly since the first salvo. Prioritize non-combatants, Hale said. Affirmative. Evac fleet reports 20 million projected evacuees. He nodded once. Let's move them home. Retention spike. Mercy at scale is its own weapon. Outside, the Resolute Dawn and her fleet advanced through debris fields with surgical calm. Each Terran vessel paired with an evac partner, forming a dance of destruction and rescue. While one ship fired precision rail strikes to neutralize remaining threats, another extended docking booms and tractor beams to pull survivors from wreckage. Telemetry scrolled, Evac progress, 2.4m complete. Engagement casualties, 0. Duration, 18 minutes. The galaxy watched in silence. What began as humiliation had become spectacle, the human fleet fighting and saving at once. No rage, no triumph, only process. Commander, Vance said, conquered media channels are transmitting live feeds. They're calling it the Quiet Storm. Hale's lips tightened, almost a smile. Accuracy for once. A shockwave rippled through the sector as a derelict cruiser detonated, scattering molten debris across 5 kilometers. Hale's command came instantly. Redirect shields. Protect evacuation lanes. 3 destroyers rotated into position, their magnetic barriers forming a shimmering arc that absorbed the blast. Not one civilian vessel was touched. Evacuation at 12 million, Vance reported. Projected completion in 42 minutes. Maintain velocity. No shortcuts. Outside the viewport, the black of space flickered with lines of movement. Escape pods tethered to shuttles, cargo transports filled with refugees, medical ships bearing the conquered insignia under human escort. Each one carried evidence of a truth the galaxy hadn't expected. Humanity's precision wasn't just in killing, retention microspike. Efficiency without compassion is only half of strength. The bombardment continued, but every strike was selective. Every target pre-verified. Each detonation designed to remove a threat, never to punish. Enemy weapons grid neutralized, reported Lieutenant Rowe from Gunnery. Confirmed. 47 static defenses silenced. Good. Begin clean sweep scan. Hale stepped closer to the viewport, eyes tracing the lines of blue light stretching toward the gate. For a moment, the battle seemed almost beautiful. Mathematics painted in motion. Commander, Vance said softly. Civilian comms are flooding with requests for passage through our corridor. Authorize all verified IDs. Escort them to safe orbit. He watched the screen fill with small green signals, life dots emerging from shadow, each one a life spared by precision. At 43 minutes, the counter reached its mark. Evac complete, 20,318 lives. The bridge stayed silent. No one applauded. Instead, they logged the final numbers, sealing the record like scripture. Status of enemy command? Hale asked. Fleet remnant retreating through the gate. No pursuit signals. Then we're done. Vance glanced at him. You'll let them go? They'll tell the story better than we could. Outside, the human formation slowed. Railguns cooled, drives dimmed. The once chaotic battlefield now pulsed with orderly light. Hospital ships, escorts, and Terran destroyers moving together through the calm aftermath. Hale gave his final order. Transmit message to all frequencies. Ready? He spoke evenly. This sector is secure. 20 million civilians evacuated. 9 aggressors neutralized. Engagement concluded under the doctrine of response. He paused. End transmission. The signal traveled across the void, carried by the static that followed every storm. Beyond the virile gate, the galaxy listened. And for the first time, it understood the silence that followed human victory. The Resolute Dawn drifted through the wreckage it had made, her guns cold, her lights dimmed to rescue tone. The war was over, but the work was not. Life signs detected on Grid 12, Vance said. Pods and open suits, maybe 200 survivors. Hale's response was quiet. Deploy recovery teams. All med bays open. No segregation. The order carried through the ship with the same weight as a battle command. Drone hatches opened, releasing bright silver capsules that darted into the debris field. Mechanical arms reached for spinning escape pods, cracked hull sections, motionless bodies in drifting suits. The humans pulled them in one by one. In the med bay, doctors moved like an extension of the ship's precision. Some of the wounded were human, most were alien, scaled, furred, feathered, all burned or broken in ways that spoke the same language. None were turned away. Vital stabilizing, reported Chief Medic Reese. 42 critical, 163 moderate. Do what we can, Hale said. No one dies if time can stop it. Retention spike. Mercy is command at its highest voltage. On the outer deck, recovery teams worked amid the wreckage of the Concord flagship. A surviving captain was found inside a ruptured bridge dome, his breathing shallow, armor fused to skin. When he opened his eyes and saw the human insignia, he whispered, "Finish it." The Marine who found him shook his head. Not our doctrine. Hours later, the alien awoke again, inside a Terran med bay, oxygen mask sealed, his wounds bandaged. Around him the air hummed with the steady rhythm of machines. On the neighboring bed lay a human gunner, asleep, sharing the same drip feed. The captain turned his head, disbelief clouding his eyes. "You rescue enemies?" Reese looked up from a monitor. "We rescue people." Elsewhere, on the Dawn's observation deck, Commander Hale met with the highest-ranking survivors of the conquered fleet. 4 captains stood behind the transparent barrier, their uniforms scorched, their pride quieter than before. Hale didn't raise his voice. "You ordered first fire." One of them, a tall reptilian officer with trembling hands, nodded. "We followed Council command." Hale regarded him without hate. "And now you'll testify to it. We are prisoners?" "No, witnesses." Vance stepped forward, handing them tablets displaying full sensor records, the complete battle, minute by minute, with timestamps, transmission logs, and the ceasefire command intact. "You'll have access to the truth," she said. "So will your worlds. Retention microspike. Mercy with proof is stronger than vengeance with pride." The alien captains exchanged uneasy glances. One spoke softly. "You could have destroyed us all." Hale met his gaze. "We could have. That's why we didn't." In orbit, the Terran fleet shifted from combat to relief. Dozens of smaller craft departed from lunar shadow, carrying food, medical supplies, and translators. A network of rescue corridors opened across the scarred system, safe lanes for every species affected by the battle. The feeds went viral across the Concord networks. Commentators who once mocked the relic ship now broadcast with reverence. The phrase doctrine of response entered every tongue at once. Back on the bridge, Vance read the incoming reports. Evacuation concluded. Civilian losses contained. All survivors accounted for. Hale nodded. Transmit universal medical access protocols to remaining conquered stations. No payment requests, no conditions. The officer hesitated. Even after what they did? Hale's tone stayed level, especially after. He turned toward the viewport. The debris field had thinned. Sunlight now reached the gate for the first time in hours. Fragments sparkled as they drifted away, ugly, luminous, forgiven. "Commander," Vance said quietly, "Council observers just sent a message." "What do they say?" She read it aloud. "Humanity has redefined victory." He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he watched as a convoy of Terran rescue ships passed by, each bearing both Terran and Concord markings on their hulls. Shared paint, shared sky. Then he said, "Good. Let's see if they can live by it." The Resolute Dawn turned slowly toward home, her engines whispering beneath the hum of medbays and quiet gratitude. The battlefield was gone. Where once burned the Concord's pride, only drifting dust remained, glinting like a frozen sea beneath distant light. The Resolute Dawn moved through it at minimal thrust, her hull newly repaired but still scarred. The ship no longer looked like a relic. It looked like a witness. "Final scans complete," Vance said softly. "All survivors transferred. Debris mapping archived." "Any pursuit signals?" Hale asked. "None." The Concord fleets retreated beyond the gate. The sector is silent. He studied the black horizon on the display, empty, endless, patient. Then silence holds. For the first time in weeks, the bridge lights dimmed to peace mode. Crew moved slower now, exhaustion tempered by quiet pride. A ship that had once been mocked as a museum piece now carried the weight of rewritten law. "Commander," Vance said, "message from Earth Command. Council requesting joint reconstruction effort. They're naming it the Varela Accord. Accept," he said. "And send our combat data to every archive, even theirs." Her brow lifted. "All of it?" "All of it. Truth doesn't weaken us." The forward cameras turned, capturing the moon they had used as a shadow. It was still scorched in patches from launch signatures, but below the blackened craters lay a new geometry. Landing pads, rescue stations, humanitarian beacons. In less than a day, the battlefield had become a port of aid, retention spike. Victory isn't noise, it's maintenance. A soft tone broke through the calm. One of the deep-range sensor officers frowned. "Commander, detecting residual activity beyond the outer rim relay. Faint, repeating pulse. Origin? Unknown. 42 light hours past mapped territory. Frequency doesn't match Concord, Terran, or any registered species." Hale walked to the console. The waveform repeated, steady, deliberate, unchanging. What's the cycle? Every 6 seconds exactly. No variance. He exchanged a glance with Vance. Playback audio? The speakers hummed. The tone was low, almost a heartbeat, layered with static. After the 5th repetition, a distortion formed within it. 3 distinct pulses, evenly spaced. Translation attempt? Hale asked. Already running, said the officer. Nothing in linguistic databases. Pattern consistent with coded reconnaissance signals. Vance leaned closer. Commander! Look at the amplitude. The waveform wasn't decaying. It was growing, each cycle, infinitesimally stronger. Hale stood still for a long moment. Then he said quietly, Plot trajectory. The map shifted, zooming outward beyond the rim. The pulse emanated from a blank region once labeled Anomaly Sector 19K, a zone the Council had closed generations ago, after entire survey fleets vanished. Commander, the officer whispered, long-range passive scans show movement. Define movement. A spatial displacement, size indeterminate. Could be a fleet, could be more. Retention microspike. The galaxy laughed at relics. The relics woke something older. Vance's voice steadied. We're reading power signatures scaling exponentially. It's not debris. It's deliberate. Hale turned back toward the viewport. In the distance, the stars seemed to ripple, as though light itself was being refracted by invisible mass. How long until signal saturation reaches our sensors? 7 hours, maybe less. He nodded slowly. Transmit all data to command. Label it Outer Rim Anomaly. Lock archive to secure channel Bravo 7. Done. The bridge fell silent again, except for the faint heartbeat of the repeating pulse. After a long pause, Vance spoke softly. Do we warn the conquered? Hale didn't answer at first. He studied the scarred plates along the viewport, faint reflections of himself staring back. Finally, he said, Yes, send it to everyone, even those who called us primitives. No civilization survives alone. The order left his lips with the same gravity as a firing command. Transmission lights blinked green, spreading outward like ripples across the dark. Outside, the Terran fleet began to turn, aligning toward the coordinates of the anomaly. The stars ahead flickered faintly, as though something vast was stirring just beyond perception. Commander, Vance said quietly. If it's hostile, he cut her off gently. Then history repeats until someone breaks the pattern. He looked once more into the dark, unchanged, infinite, waiting. Prepare long-range probes, he said. Doctrine of response remains in effect. The pulse echoed again. 3 beats, steady as breath, and in the cold between galaxies, something listened back.